The image of an elderly retired father abandoned by his children is a heartbreaking testament to the frailties of human relationships. After a lifetime of hard work and sacrifice, a time meant for rest and solace becomes a period of solitude and abandonment. The absence of his children's presence and support leaves a deep emotional void, amplifying feelings of loneliness and vulnerability. It is a poignant reminder of the shifting dynamics within families, where obligations and responsibilities can sometimes be forgotten or disregarded. Despite the pain, the elderly father's resilience and strength shine through as he navigates life's challenges with a quiet dignity. In the face of abandonment, he seeks solace within himself, drawing upon the inner reserves of courage and perseverance to navigate this difficult chapter of his life. Remember to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you won't miss any of our future captivating stories. Together, let's celebrate the incredible journeys that make our world a more wonderful place. A poor elderly father worked in a welding plant to make ends meet because he was unable to help his 3 children. His wife and children received a phone call from the plant one day, notifying them of a terrible tragedy. What would you do if the kids you raised with all your love and work turned against you one day? How would you respond if they said you were still strong enough to labor for your bread instead of offering to feed you? After his final kid, daughter Christy, got married, the Winslow father decided it was time to retire and enjoy. He felt instinctively that his 3 kids would care for him and his wife in their old age. But who could have predicted that the children he had kept and raised with his blood and sweat would bust his bubble by urging him to get a job instead of expecting him to care for them? "Oh, it seems like yesterday," Fred remarked to Emma. "Our kid has grown up, yet she is still the little child who took her first steps while holding my hand. And now is the day I lead her down the aisle. I apologize, Mrs. Wilson. We did all we could, but Mr. Wilson passed away on the way to the hospital," an informer from Fred's workplace claimed. The parents were overjoyed to watch their daughter join their new world, but it was heartbreaking to see her leave them. Fred was happy and sad at the same time because he thought it was finally time for him to stop working and retire. "It's time to tell Emma the truth, but I'll do it tomorrow," Fred reasoned. "I'm sure she'll be astonished and pleased with my choice." Fred slept easily that night, certain that Emma would approve his decision to leave his job as a cashier at a local supermarket. Emma made Fred breakfast and packed his lunch the following morning. "Remember to take your medications, sweetie." "I packed them in your lunch bag," she said. But when she came from the kitchen 15 minutes later, she was shocked that Fred hadn't changed. "Darling, it's already 8:30 p.m. Please hurry. Go wash and change your clothes, or you'll be late for work," she said, but Fred smiled as he dismissed her cries. "What's the matter with you, Fred? Are you going to go to work today?" she inquired once again. "It's already late, and don't tell me you're taking the day off." Fred smiled at Emma once more. "No, dear, I'm on leave." "Permanent absence," Emma shouted loudly. "What exactly do you mean?" Emma was astonished and enraged when Fred informed her that he had resigned from his job. He thought his wife would be happy with his choice, but she surprised him with her answer. "Darling, what happened?" he inquired sheepishly. "Did I make a mistake? I'd always wanted to retire and unwind, and you are aware of this. I felt this was a good moment to do it." Emma, on the other hand, was not persuaded. She was concerned about maintaining the home and finding wonderful presents for their upcoming grandchildren. "How could you have made such a decision, Fred?" She was enraged. "How can you be that stupid? What should we do now? You blew all of your money on our daughter's wedding. How are we going to make ends meet without your salary?" Fred remained cool and informed her that they had nothing to be concerned about. "Darling, what's the big deal when we have 3 kids I've helped get on their feet? I'm sure they don't want to see me working any longer. Don't worry, they'll take care of us." Sadly, old Fred's faith in his children was dashed the following day when Emma summoned them to visit him. Christy informed her father, "Mom told us you left your job. I just got married and want to travel throughout the globe with my hubby." Her brothers, Matt and Eric, looked tense as they waited for their turn to give their reasons. Fred was taken aback, but understood what his daughter was saying. She had recently been married and deserved to have some fun with her spouse. He went to see his two boys, still certain that they would stand with him and Emma. His hopes were dashed when his sons informed him he needed to get a job. "Look, Dad, my wife and I have home and auto debts," Matt said. "I don't believe I can help you financially right now. And Dad, Sophie, and I are expecting a kid this year," Eric said. "You understand how tough it is to raise a kid, and we must begin saving for our child." I apologized, Dad. Their motivations were different, but their responses were the same. Christy, Matt, and Eric had no plans to help their parents in their old age. They recommended Fred get a job rather than sit at home. The following day, hurt and under pressure from all sides, the elderly Fred began job searching. However, the grocery store where he worked refused to employ him again. "We apologize, Mr. Wilson," the manager said. "We requested that you remain, but you refused. Sorry, but that post has already been taken." For the first time in his life, Fred felt defeated and dejected. He got home and told Emma the sad news, which enraged her since he had resigned from his job in the first place. "It's all your fault," she said. "Who asked you to resign from your job? I don't care what you do, but I want you to get a job and start making money." Fred shrugged, exhausted. He wanted to weep but didn't want to show his distress. He moved on to look for work the following day and ended up on the doorstep of a nearby welding plant. "But you're a little too elderly to manage the equipment," the recruiter said after taking a look at Fred. "We don't employ the elderly, but your circumstance makes me think." With tears in his eyes, Fred implored the guy to grant him the job. "I may be old, but I am still in good shape. Please grant me this position. If I return home without a job, I'll lose what little respect I have left." The employer agreed to help Fred because he was impressed by his dedication and energy. Fred began working and stayed for a little more than 2 months. He brought a sizable sum of money, which thrilled Emma and his children. But who could have predicted that this would eventually cost him his life? Emma got a phone call from Fred's workplace that day. "I apologize, Mrs. Wilson. We did all we could, but Mr. Wilson passed away on the way to the hospital." Emma was taken aback and notified her children right away. Fred had had a huge heart attack while managing a machine only a few hours after arriving at the plant. He passed out and grabbed his chest before being taken to the hospital, but he did not make it. Yet Fred had 3 children and a family that never cared about him. Fred ended up dying while working hard for his bread. Fred's wife and children gathered around him on the day of his burial, lamenting his irreparable loss. "Oh, Fred, I've been such a rotten wife," Emma lamented. "I should not have made you do anything you didn't want to do. Please give me one more opportunity, Dad. I can work for my home and car, but I can't work for you," Matt screamed. "Dad, please return. Please accept my apologies. I apologize for having you work instead of caring for you. Daddy, no matter how far I go, I will never find another loving father like you. Please return, I implore you." Christy burst into tears. "Dad, why have you left us? We were never kind to you. We had forgotten about all of your efforts and hard work. We saw you as a machine. We apologize for what we have done to you. Please give us one more shot. Please return," Eric sobbed. However, it was too late. No matter how many tears they wept or how many times they begged old Fred to give them that one opportunity to make amends, it was not going to happen. Fred had left. Fred, may you rest in peace.